Hello and welcome back. It's nice to have you back. Today, I'm going to be kind of going in depth talking about the first year of the Nintendo Switch. So that would be 2017. Feels like it was just yes. Actually, that's a lie. It feels like it was a long time ago, like a really long time ago. Um, it should feel like yesterday, but a lot has changed in my life between now and 2017. So it feels like another life ago. Anyway, with the looming Nintendo Switch 2 Direct that's coming out, stay tuned for that episode. I figured I'd go back year by year occasionally, whenever I've got some time and nothing really else to talk about, and just kind of go year by year about my history with the first Nintendo Switch console that launched on March the 3rd, Girls' Day in Japan, 2017. My history with the Switch dates back quite a while. I remember hearing some of the rumors going around about it. And then I did watch that initial press junket that they did in January before the release in March. I'll probably do my own video on a reaction of, I'll probably go back and rewatch that whole session again, just because it's been so long since I've seen it. And I remember it being pretty rough. I mean, I thought it was odd that they wanted to do a live event, because up to that point they had been doing a lot of like pre-recorded Nintendo Directs for E3 and other things like that. So the fact that they're going to announce this scary new console, I mean, scary for Nintendo, because had the Switch not worked, who knows where that company would be right now. After the failure of the Wii U, I'm sure they were really wanting this to work. So to do a live event, especially with some of the colorful characters that they had as guests on that stage, that was pretty gutsy. I'm kind of surprised they actually did that. And they seem to have pulled it off, even though I'm pretty sure a couple of translators got fired for that. Because I remember some rumors were circulating after that initial video. They were like, hey, Nintendo of America is hiring new translators. And it's like, oh my God, did somebody get fired? People must have gotten fired off this job. But anyway, I'll talk about that whole thing another time. That'll be its own separate episode, maybe someday. For right now, I want to talk about the first year, starting with the launch of the Nintendo Switch. I remember when they announced it, it was great, but all I wanted to know was, when can I get a pre-order? At the time, I was living on Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam, and I was living on base. There was no GameStop on base at the time. They had closed it. It may be back by now, but at the time it was closed. And the Base Exchange, being the store on base, they would get things in from time to time, and you could like kind of count on them, but there would be times where I'd go to them on a release day and I'd try to pick up a game and they just either wouldn't have it, or they would be like, oh yeah, that's still on the Madsen ship. Madsen, by the way, is a shipping company that pretty much brings everything to Hawaii, because it all has to come by boat because we're in the middle of the ocean. So sometimes they would have it, sometimes they just wouldn't. I don't know. They kind of didn't seem to care about release dates. They just put it out when they put it out. So because you couldn't count on that, I would always go to the GameStop off base, because sure, it was tax-free on base and it was a little bit cheaper, but I wanted it on release day. I didn't want to have to wait. I wanted it now. I was very impatient. Still am. So I just wanted to know when I could go to the off-base GameStop, get my pre-order so that I could secure my console, because I was like, dude, this thing is going to be big. This is going to be a big console. This is going to do really well. I can just see it. At the time, I remember from what I could see online, people were kind of split 50-50. Some people were like, this is great. This is revolutionary. This is what we wanted. And other people were like, it's underpowered. It's going to be too weak. It's going to be like obsolete by the time they release it. It needs to be, on par with the PS4 and the Xbox One, which I disagreed with. I was like, no. The fact that this thing is portable completely is a game changer. Like, I mean, playing Skyrim on the go, playing Zelda on the go, playing whatever the new Mario game is on the go. It's like, dude, this is a game changer. And because this is pre Steam Deck and all those PC handhelds. I mean, this was the only thing on the market at the time. This was the new thing. So because of that, I knew I had to get a pre-order in because I had lived through the Amiibo craze. I had lived through the Wii U craze, the NES Mini, the Super NES Mini. I was like, dude, there's not going to be enough to go around. Not only that, but me personally, I was on Oahu, which is a little island in the middle of nowhere. There's going to be, there's like at the time, there was 900,000 people living on Oahu. A couple of people are going to want this console. A lot of people are going to want this console. So I got to secure my copy. Or I got to secure my console here. So luckily, they announced, okay, we're going to do this, because for a while I was just calling GameStop like every couple days. Like, hey, I really want to know, like, I want to know when I can come down there and I can secure my pre-order. And they were like, dude, I totally get you. No hard feelings. Just we'll let you know. Well, one day I finally called them and they said, actually, yes, we are going to do pre-orders on this day. And I was like, all right, cool. But weirdly enough, they were going to do it at like noon for some reason. Usually they just do it like when they open, or, the night before or whatever. Like, it's odd for them to do it like at noon. So I intentionally scheduled my lunch break at that time. I put in with my section supervisor and was like, hey, I got to go to lunch at this time. Is that okay? I wanted it. And they were like, sure, I guess. So on my lunch break, I ran over there. There was a couple of other people there. I got in line, got my pre-order, and it was secured. And I was like, whew, got it. Just for those wondering, I did pre-order the all-black console. At the time, I was 50-50 on the actual colored Joy-Cons, just because I saw the pictures of them and I saw the video, and I was like, those look really cool, and I like the colors, but I don't know what they're going to look like in my hand, and I don't want them to be distracting when I'm playing in handheld mode. Looking back on it, I do regret getting the all-black Joy-Con, because later on, after I saw the color Joy-Cons, I wanted to switch. Pun intended. But I wanted to change to buy the colored. So I wanted the left blue, the right red, which is the type that you could get through that bundle. However, that when you bought them individually, for some reason the right was red and the left was, the left was red and the right was blue. They had switched it. So you literally could not buy those controllers separately. They had switched those colors. So if you wanted to buy the separate ones, it was like, no, those are backwards. So, and that looked weird in my brain. I was like, no, I want it to look like the other one. So I had to go on eBay and like buy those separately. But I ended up buying a lot of Joy-Cons for this thing, which I now regret, because I don't know, about 2 months after the console launched, all of a sudden the Joy-Con drift started thing happening, and oh no. I was so bummed about that, because I wanted to collect all the Joy-Con, and now I was like, I have now no incentive to collect Joy-Con, because they're just going to be all dead. They're not going to work. But anyway, I figured I'd go through a little bit of the history of my pre-order. So I picked, or not my pre-order, the first year of the Switch. I went to GameStop, picked it up. I was the second in line, and I snagged that. I got a special edition copy of Breath of the Wild, not the Master Edition with the sword, just the middle range special edition, because I didn't care about I don't like statues in pre-order things. I'm sorry. I think statues are a cheap cop-out. I like cool little inventive things that's like, oh, that's unique to that set. Every single special edition now just comes with a statue, and it's like, where am I going to put that? What am I going to do with that? Like, I like it better when they put like a bag in there, or they put like an actual prop from the game that actually you could use if you wanted. Like, that's always really cool stuff. But anyway, I got the special edition of Breath of the Wild. I got 1-2 Switch and Super Bomberman R. Of those games, I think you can probably guess which one I played the most. And that would, of course, be Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild was the first game I ever played on the Switch, and I played that thing every single day. It has been a long time since I've been that like obsessed with a game, To be honest with you, I didn't know if I'd ever get that obsessed with a game again until Elden Ring had came out. When Elden Ring came out, I was as into Elden Ring as I was Breath of the Wild. Played it like every day, just mindlessly exploring, just doing little things here and there. I mean, I can't, there's nothing new, I don't think, that I can say about Breath of the Wild that tons of people haven't said better. But I just really had a special connection to that game when it came out, and I feel very fortunate to have gotten the Switch on launch day with that game, because I actually had some friends about a week later, after I was playing it and talking about it, and after they were seeing just the overwhelming love for the game online, they couldn't get a hold of a Switch console, so they went out and bought a Wii U so that they could play it on the Wii U. I remember a couple of my friends did that. They went to GameStop, bought refurbished Wii U's, and bought a copy of Breath of the Wild. And I was like, wow, that's how powerful that game was when it came out. Is that people are buying literally an entire outdated old console that people would, I mean, you could argue that the Wii U is much, much worse than the Switch. People are buying a worse console just for this one game. Like, that's pretty wild, man. That's a testament to Breath of the Wild. I mean, it is just a fantastic, fantastic game. 1-2 Switch, I probably played that like twice. I hosted like a party or two at my place, and some people came over. We had some drinks. We played a couple of games of 1-2 Switch, and then that was like it. I've probably been on that game less than 2 hours, I did enjoy back in the day. I watched Funhouse's video of them all playing it, and I remember that was like more fun than the actual game itself. If I would have gone back in time, I'd have been like, just Google like Funhouse 1-2 Switch and just watch them play it, and that's the game. You get the gist. It's fine. And then Super Bomberman R. I'm not really a Bomberman guy. I played it a little bit. It was fine, but I'd put it into the console. I'd play it for like 20 minutes, and then I'd just be like, I'm going to go back to Breath of the Wild. And I played Breath of the Wild like constantly, really enjoyed it, was on it every day, played it in bed, played it on the TV, like just all the time. Loved it to death. And I remember I was really hesitant to beat it. I had done all the Divine Beasts, and I had done a bunch of other stuff. I did not get all the Korok seeds, but I did the entire like town. I think it was Terry's Town is what it was called. I can't remember the exact name of the town. But I was supposed to go to Ganon. And then I found out about this town that you can like build, and I was like, I don't want to go fight Ganon, because when I fight Ganon, that's the end of the game. So I did as much as I possibly could, and I was also looking at the calendar because the next big game to come out was going to be Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the 27th of April. And I was like, well, that's like 2 months after the Switch. So I've got to have Breath of the Wild last me 2 months, because there's not a lot on that console right now to play. So, you got to kind of, be a little sparing with it. You got to make it last. But I did eventually beat the game. I probably had about 3 weeks left until Mario Kart came out. So I had like 3 weeks of like, well, I can either restart Breath of the Wild, but I was also kind of just done with it. Like I spent so much time with it that I was like kind of done with it by the time it ended, and it was great and it was beautiful and I loved it, but I was ready to move on to the next title, which was Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, releasing on the 27th of April. I bought that game, of course, day one as well. Pretty much all these games I got day one at that GameStop, because I was just more Switch games, please. More. So I got that game, put it in. I probably played it for like 4 hours, unlocked all the cups, did all that stuff. And then I was kind of done. I had a Wii U. I played a ton of Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U. I bought the DLC. I did all that stuff. And so I was just kind of like, I've already done this. I want a new Mario Kart. Like, I remember I was excited to get Mario Kart 8 Deluxe because I remember loving Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U. But I had kind of forgotten how much I'd played it and how familiar I was with it. And sure, there was the new battle mode, and sure that they had added King Boo. King Boo is my favorite Mario Kart racer, so I was glad that he was back. but I was just kind of done. And so I was like, and even to this day, I really have not played that much of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I'm so glad that it sold well and everyone has just loved it and appreciated it as like the best selling Switch game. I'm so happy for those people because I agree. I think that Mario Kart 8 is fantastic. But by the time it had came to the Switch, I had already sunk like a couple hundred hours into that game on the Wii U. So it's like, I just don't need any more of this, I guess. It's just, I'm really going to unlock all this stuff again. I'm going to do all this all over. It's just like, I'm okay. And I had all of the amiibo. So, of course, one of the first things I did was I scanned all my amiibo and unlocked all the Mii costumes for the game. Also, a special fun side note. A couple months later, this was probably like in July or August or September, I can't remember, but I was walking through Best Buy and they were just handing out like Switch Steelbook cases of Mario Kart for some reason. Like, I guess they just got an extra shipment in and they're like, hey, this game came out like in April. We're just going to hand these out to basically anybody that's buying a Switch game or anybody that's like a Nintendo fan or whatever. And so I just grabbed one. I thought that was really, really cool. I didn't even know this existed. So it wasn't like super, super cool, well designed, but it was a fun, nice little free thing that Best Buy was giving out. So I was like, yeah, why not? I'll enjoy that. And then there was another large gap. There was no Nintendo published game, I don't believe, released for May. At least nothing that's coming to mind. There may have been some small game that I'm forgetting about, but major titles, there was nothing for the month of May. And in June, on June 16th, was the launch of a brand new IP called ARMS. Now, I really, really love ARMS. I know that it might not be the most well-received game by most people, but I personally love this IP. I don't use the motion controls. I use the triggers. But I played this with a few of my friends back in my military days, and dude, we ate this thing up. It was so much fun. And they just gave us a ton of free DLC for it. I do wish that the DLC came out a lot faster than it did, because by the time the last DLC fighter dropped, most of my friends and everybody had kind of forgotten about it and they were done with it and they'd all moved on. And I'd be like, hey, let's pull out ARMS. And they're like, dude, Smash Bros is out by this point. What are we doing with ARMS? So I think ARMS was fantastic. I absolutely loved that title. I bought that, of course, day one. I played it constantly. That really sort of elevated the Switch back up for me because Mario Kart 8, it wasn't a letdown as in I didn't like it, but like I said, I just was kind of done with it. And so this was a brand new IP, brand new gameplay mechanic, and I was like, dude, this is exactly what I wanted on the Switch, was something like this. This is perfect. Really enjoy that game. I kind of hope we get a sequel for the Switch too. It'd be really cool if they called it like Two Arms or something like that. I don't know. I would love it if we could get another ARMS game. And then maybe this time on release, they could give us a whole bunch of more content rather than, making us wait a couple months. But after ARMS was the big one. It was Splatoon 2, released on the 21st of July. Now, when I think of Splatoon 2, I have sort of a very unique nostalgia for that game. And anybody that lives on Oahu or lives in Hawaii will probably know like what I'm talking about here. Summertime in Hawaii is really, really fun. And having that game all summer long to play was something else, man. That was next level. So there is a shopping center in Honolulu called the Ala Moana, and there was a mall level in Splatoon 2 that really reminded me of Ala Moana. And then not only that, but they sold like I forget where. I think it was like Uniqlo. There's a Uniqlo there, and they sold like Splatoon 2 merch. And like I just remember seeing a ton of people that were like on vacation, and they had like little Splatoon things, and everybody was excited about Splatoon 2 because that was such a big thing on the Wii U, even though the Wii U was a worse selling console than the Switch. the love for Splatoon was very high. And so now you've got Splatoon on a very successful console that's also portable. And man, and then in Hawaii, uh, it was it was truly next level. It was just absolutely the best, man. Like I can't really think of a better. Well, actually, I lied. I'm so sorry. I was in Hawaii in 2016 for the release of Pokemon Sun and Moon and also Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. So those actually were probably the best because those actually take place in Hawaii. But Splatoon is a close second, right? That's pretty great. I think maybe Okinawa would be the best place for Splatoon, possibly. I don't know, irrelevant. But the biggest the biggest bummer about Splatoon 2 was that Target was running a promotion, and I saw this advertisement online that said if you buy the game opening weekend at Target, you will get a free Splatoon 2 like water gun, like in a decent sized water gun. And it was the one from the game, like on the cover. And I was like, dude, I got to get that. I got to get that. Because I had a pre order with GameStop, but I was like, I will go down the street to Target and go get it if I must. And so, opening weekend, because the game came out on a Friday, I went there. I think I went there on Friday. I showed up on Friday to go get the game, but I went to Target first, and I was like, hey, do you guys have that thing where you got the Splatoon water guns and stuff like that? And the guy was like, obviously, he just didn't care. He was like, do whatever, kid. And he was like, no, that's only the mainland. Only the mainland gets that stuff. And I was like, that sucks. Meaning that only targets in the 48, continental United States get it. So Alaska doesn't get it and Hawaii doesn't get it. That may have been a lie, but I don't believe so. I get the feeling that all of those really cool promotional things that they do, Hawaii doesn't either get them or they get them like 6 months later and just no one knows and they just like either throw them in the trash or hand them out to the employees or something. I don't know. But I have this conspiracy that they do eventually show up. They're just either late or the employees just snag them all. Because for some reason, anytime Nintendo would try to do some cool promotion, they just, for some reason, we would never get that stuff. And so I missed out on that. I thought about buying it on eBay, but of course I went on eBay after the game came out and they were going for like, $25. And I was like, dude, for a free water gun, it's like $1 water gun. I'm not paying for that. I don't know. I never got one, but it was a bummer that Hawaii there's a few times that being in Hawaii is not gamer friendly with that kind of stuff, that you miss out on little fun promotions that you should be getting. I mean, there's like, how many targets are there on the island of Oahu? There's like 3, I think. Yeah, there's the one that's out. There's the one next to Ala Moana, like on the edge of Waikiki. There's the one out there by Salt Lake, and then there's the one on the west side of the island. I've only been to that one once. I think those are the only 3, right? There might be a 4th in K-Bay. I can't remember. But anyway, there was at least 3 that I know of. And of course, none of them, would ever do those kinds of promotions. Because I started calling the other ones and just being like, hey, are you guys going to do this? And they're like, no, we're not going to. Sorry. We only got the game. That's all we got. It's like, man, you're killing me. But anyway, moving on. So after Splatoon 2, there was a very interesting game released, the Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, releasing on the 29th of August. I regrettably ordered the collector's edition of this game. I had high hopes for this game. It looked like, I love that kind of strategy style game. But ultimately, this is an Ubisoft game, so of course it would be on sale constantly on the Switch eShop for like $4. And so I kind of wished I had just waited. But of course, it was the first year of the Switch, and I wanted as many games as I could possibly get for the new hardware that I was enjoying. So I don't know. I guess I don't regret it. I just wish I would have bought a standard edition instead of the big expensive collector's edition. But overall, I don't have much to say about that game. It was really fun. I enjoyed it for what it was, but I don't know. it didn't really rock my world. It was fun. I played it for like I think I beat it in like 2 weeks, you know. I just grinded through it. I was like, "All right, I get it. That's cute. Whatever, move on." After that though, on the 22nd of September was Pokken Tournament. Now, when when the when the Switch came out, I really didn't want to buy a ton of ports for the Wii U because I was thinking to myself, well, my Wii U is still plugged into the TV. I still actually do play it from time to time because I've got a ton of games on it. Uh, so I didn't really want to necessarily just rebuy all of this stuff. However, I I had two of the Pokken tournament controllers, the white one and the yellow one, the Pikachu one. And those are USB controllers, and those both will plug into the Switch's dock. And so when I found out that I could actually use those Pokken controllers on the Switch, I was sold. I was like, all right, that's fine. Plus, there's more fighters now, and I was like, okay, that's fine. I am disappointed, though, that they did not reprint those Mewtwo cards because when I bought it on the Wii U, mine has the Mewtwo card inside of it, and I kind of was hoping that they'd give us a second chance at that Mewtwo card, so I could have two of them, and maybe have like a little Switch logo on it or something. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool. As just throw that stuff in there, Nintendo. It's really fun. You know, it's a nice little collector's thing, especially for the first print run of those games. Like, why not toss it in there? What does it like cost you? Like half a cent to make one of those things? Just like, come on now. I don't know. Let's do it. But overall, I enjoyed the game. I played a lot more of it on the Wii U than I did the Switch, of course. You know, I enjoyed it, but honestly, when I started playing Pokken Tournament, I kind of just would say, you know what? I just want to play ARMS. Let's just put ARMS in again. And so I would just end up playing that over and over again. If I wanted to play a fighting game, I just would play ARMS, especially a 1v1 like that. But then the big one came. On the 27th of October, they released Mario Odyssey. That was probably the game I was most excited for that year. I was very excited for ARMS because it was a new IP. I was very excited for Splatoon 2 because I had loved the first. And to me, honestly, I think Splatoon 2 was much better than Splatoon 1. But Mario Odyssey was really the big one I was looking forward to. They had sort of promoted it as, the third pillar in the 3D Mario trilogy, right? Nintendo even showed that graph where they were like Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, Mario Odyssey. And they were like, those are the open world 3D Mario games. And then up there, you've got like the 2D, 3D games, which is your Galaxy games, your 3D Land, your 3D World, like all that stuff. That's separate from the mainline kind of 3D Mario game. So this is technically a sequel to Sunshine, released in like 2002. So, it's been a long time. So I'm very, very excited for this. And I will say that Mario Odyssey was sort of difficult to review. Initially, I loved the game completely. I was like, this is a masterpiece. This is just as good as 64 and Sunshine for me. I do love Sunshine. I love 64. Now when I go back, I see a lot more of the flaws. Moons are definitely worth less than stars or shine sprites, which is kind of a bummer. I wish it was harder to get moons than it was. I wish there wasn't like 800 moons in the game or something crazy. I wish it was back to that like 120 or something like that. 120 max, But it would be like, yeah, ground pound the shiny area, and it's like, okay, it's a moon. But I am nostalgic for that game because I did play that game on a trip home. I was lucky enough I mentioned this in my Mario Day stories about Mario. It's the episode right before this one, so you can listen to that for that story. But I was able to pick it up right before getting on a plane and going home to visit family. And so I played it that whole trip. So playing Mario Odyssey now when I go back, I'm very nostalgic when I play that game because I think of my time in Hawaii, but I also think of that trip back home and like my friends back home and in Kentucky. And, so it kind of has this very specific feeling for me in my mind when I go back and I play that game. So while the game has a lot of flaws, when I personally play it, it's like going back in time to that period of my life. So for me, that's what Mario Odyssey will always be. It's very special to me for that reason. And then finally, the last major title released in 2017 on the 1st of December was Xenoblade Chronicles 2. This was a game that I was very interested in. I was 50-50 on buying it because I did not know if I had to play Xenoblade 1 first. But then, of course, they said, no, you don't need it. I did buy it later on. I did not I think this is the only title in this list that I'm talking about today that I did not pre-order. I bought it, I think, like a week after it came out, or 2 weeks after it came out, like closer to Christmas. And I never beat it. I'm really bad with JRPGs because I will get fully invested in them. I'll play them for like probably 30 hours, maybe 40 hours, and then I just like drop it. Usually because something else comes out or something else takes my attention away. You've got to be a really, really, really special game for me to put over 100 hours into the game. It's got to be a special game. And I'm not saying that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 or JRPGs aren't special, but they really are those like once in a generation kinds of games that I just fully immerse myself in and just can dump all of this time into. I kind of like games where you could get in and get out and really appreciate and enjoy everything. I think that's why I like the Mario titles so much. That's why I like Star Fox, because it's like, there's all these secrets and little things you can do, but you can kind of experience everything in a shorter amount of time. That's why Portal is great. The first Portal is absolutely brilliant because it's like, dude, the experience that you could have in that little 5 hours, it's insane. But I'm not saying that, JRPGs are not great. But okay, sort of controversial take here. Part of me thinks that the allure of JRPGs is actually not that the stories are like life-changingly good. I think that people just get attached to the characters because they have spent so many hours with them. We as human beings, if you spend a certain amount of time, whether that's in an environment or around certain people, you do sort of develop a bond with either the place you're in or the people you're with. And so if you're playing a game and you've been playing it for 80 hours and then one of those characters dies, that's going to be shocking. That's going to be a shock to your system. Like, well, I've been with this character for 80 hours. And it's like, I guess my question to JRPG players would be, are you shocked because you've spent so much time with them and now they're gone? Or did you really love the character? That, like I said, one day I'll be able to break through this and I'll fall in love with JRPGs. I desperately want to. I desperately want to play like the Persona games and like Final Fantasy titles, and like I want to do all of this stuff. Like the Metaphor ReFantasia just came out and everybody's like loving all over that game. And it's just like, man, I want to get into these games, but I just can't do it. I can't break through. And I guess maybe it's because I'm not the type of gamer that can sit down and say, hey, I'm going to dedicate 80 hours to this game. I'm really not that kind of guy, I can do like a 20-hour campaign. I can do like a 40-hour campaign. But once you get beyond that 40 hours, it's like, dude, you're starting to lose me here. You're starting to lose me. I don't know. I need to give Xenoblade Chronicles 1 or 3 a try. I have heard that those are absolutely fantastic. I own both of them physically. But of course, by the time those games came out, there was so much more on the Switch to play. I always tell myself one day I'm going to sit down and I'm going to commit to a JRPG. If any of you have any recommendations, please leave them in the comments if you're listening on Spotify. Leave in the comments and let me know what I need to be playing or what I need to try. I'm thinking I'm going to try like Chrono Trigger or something. I don't really know. It's tough, man. It's tough. I want to be a JRPG guy. I just can't do it. I don't know, maybe Fire Emblem. I don't know. We'll see, man. One of these days, a bug will hit me perfectly, and I'll be right there in it, and I'll get addicted. But until then, I'll keep going like I'm going. But anyway, that's the end of the 2017 launch year for the Nintendo Switch. I will occasionally do other videos talking about the games and the history and the like little stories and stuff like that. You know, whenever I've got some downtime, whenever there's not a lot of Nintendo news, like right now. Like right now, Nintendo news is basically dead until next month. Crazy enough, we have a Xenoblade Chronicles game coming out later this month. It's Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, which I am buying. I've already got it pre-ordered and I'm ready to go because that is one of the rare Wii U games that I never bought. I always regretted that. I was going to buy it, but at the time, I think when that came out, it was the same time that like Yoshi's Woolly World was kind of coming out at that time. And so I was all in on that instead of Xenoblade. I don't know. There's some other game that was coming out around that season, and for some reason I just shifted and I was like, I'm gonna buy something else because I almost bought Xenoblade Chronicles X. Like I wanted to get one of those special editions for the Wii U. Because now I don't think we're getting a special edition for X. That's gonna be the only Xenoblade to not have a special edition on the Switch. Because Chronicles 1, 2, and 3 all have definitive editions, even though they botched the definitive edition, the special edition for 3. I remember they botched that. There was a huge controversy there. Everybody was not happy about that. But anyway, I'll have all 4 on the Switch, and one day I'll dig them out, and I'll probably start with 1 or 3. Or maybe I'll fall in love with X. Maybe the new X game will come out and it'll just blow my mind. Then I'll be all obsessed with that, and that'll be the start of my journey. But anyway, that about wraps it up for this episode, I think. When I think back to 2017 and the Switch's launch year, for me it's a lot of memories of Hawaii. It's a lot of memories of, just good times, a lot of fun stuff. A lot of adventures and misadventures. I didn't talk too much about Amiibos that came out that year, but I was heavily collecting Amiibos at that time and before then, ever since Smash for the Wii U came out. But yeah, I feel very fortunate to be where I was at the time when the Switch came out. I really had a very unique experience with the first few years of the Switch. And I will be in Japan for the launch. This will be the first time I'm living in Japan for the launch of a Nintendo console. So that'll be something special to see. I'm excited to see how that goes. But I feel very fortunate to live in Hawaii and to have that launch and to meet all those cool people and to have those friends at that time and to just have those experiences. It really was great. It's very nostalgic for me going back and thinking about it today. And I hope you guys have good memories of the first year with the Switch. And hopefully we can make some new good memories when the Switch 2 is released here shortly this year. Y'all take care of yourselves. I appreciate you stopping by.